One cat can bite through a skull. Another animal can release a shock of 860 volts, stronger than a wall socket. And an ant smaller than a fingernail can make a grown man remember one sting for an entire day. We are told the rainforest is green and loud and chaotic. But in the Amazon, evolution did not build animals. It built weapons that breathe. What kind of forest makes a cat hunt through bone? What kind of river makes electricity a weapon? What kind of insect can make a human remember one sting for a day? And what happens when humans destroy the laboratory that created all of this? Start with the only big cat in the Americas. Because the first weapon of the Amazon is not venom. It is silence, followed by pressure. The jaguar moves through dark undergrowth at the edge of water. Its coat is covered in rosettes, dark spots arranged in rings that break its outline against the broken light. It moves low, shoulders rolling, almost without sound. You could walk past it and never know. The forest is full of noise, birds, insects, wind. But when the jaguar appears, the noise often stops. The silence becomes a weapon. It is a predator that uses the forest's own darkness and noise as camouflage, turning the environment into an extension of its body. An adult can reach 5 to 8 feet from nose to tail, the length of a person lying down. Its body is dense and muscular, built for short bursts and explosive power, not long chases. It weighs up to 250 pounds, but it moves like a shadow. This body shape allows it to stalk capybara, caiman, and even tapir, animals that can outweigh it. The simple explanation says it is an ambush predator. It waits, it springs, it bites. But the killing method is the crack. Most big cats target the throat and suffocate. The jaguar often goes for the skull, or the back of the neck, or a turtle shell. Its jaws are built to pierce bone and armor, not just flesh. The skull itself is deep and robust, with a sagittal crest that anchors the massive jaw muscles. The bite drives through the ear canal into the brain, or through the shell of a river turtle as if the shell were a thin box. Researchers have measured its bite force relative to size, and it is among the strongest of all big cats. This animal does not need to choke its prey. It can end the encounter with one precise, crushing bite. The forest floor falls silent, and then the only sound is the crack of bone. The jaguar is not just the king of the Amazon floor. It is the animal that turns silence into a skull-breaking event. The impact is not a wild slash, but a targeted strike, designed over millions of years of evolution. If the jaguar can kill through armor, what kind of pressure exists in the forest that shaped such a bite? The answer is written in the dark water and the thick vegetation, where survival is not about noise. It is about design. So which of these 5 weaponized bodies do you fear most? Write your answer in the comments and tell me what country you are watching from. If you want more stories about real creatures built like machines, make sure to like and subscribe. Now, let's move to a predator that doesn't need teeth at all. But the next predator does not need to touch you with teeth at all. It turns the river into a wire. The river is brown and thick. In the dry season, the water barely moves, and visibility drops to almost nothing. You cannot see your own hand if you put it under the surface. And somewhere in that dark channel, a long shape is gliding. It does not need to see you with eyes. It sees you with electricity. The electric eel is not a true eel. It is a knife fish, a relative of the ones that twitch through the water with a ribbon-like fin. But this one has turned its entire body into a battery. Electric organs run through most of its length, taking up space that other fish use for digestion or muscle. The animal is essentially a living cable, and the charge it can release is not a rumor. Up to 860 volts. That is the number recorded in the species Electrophorus voltae, the strongest known bioelectric generator on the planet. To make that number feel real, compare it to your own home. In the United States, a standard wall outlet carries around 120 volts. In much of Europe, it is 230 volts. Grab a live wire in a dark room, and you will feel the current run through your body for as long as the contact holds. The electric eel can release more than 3 times the European mains voltage through the water around you. It does not need to touch you. The river itself becomes the wire. But the shock is not a simple weapon. The eel uses electricity in 2 different ways, and that is where the simple explanation starts to crack. Most people imagine the eel as a fish that zaps whatever comes close. In truth, it is also a radar system. The eel constantly emits weak, low-voltage pulses, creating an electric field around its body. When something enters that field, a fish, a shrimp, even the shape of a submerged log, the field distorts, and the eel reads the distortion through tiny receptors in its skin. In water where eyes are useless, the eel builds a three-dimensional map of the dark world around it. It can tell the difference between a stone and a living mussel. It can sense a hidden fish buried in the mud or tucked inside a hollow branch. Then comes the second stage. Once the eel knows where the prey is, it can switch from radar to weapon. It releases a rapid volley of high-voltage pulses, strong enough to override the nervous system of the target. The pulses force the prey's muscles to contract involuntarily. The hidden fish twitches, giving away its exact location. At the same time, the shock can immobilize it, turning a living animal into a floating piece of stunned flesh. The eel simply swims up and swallows it. One animal, two electrical modes, navigation and attack, both driven by the same body. A study published in Nature Communications in 2019 did not just describe another riverfish. The researchers recorded a specimen of electrophorus voltae discharging 860 volts, the highest ever measured from a living creature. That number is not folklore. It is a measurement. So the simple label, an electric fish that shocks prey, is too small. The eel is not a random spark. It is a biological machine that turns water into a weapon and a sensory organ at the same time. It does not need claws, speed, or even light. It needs voltage, and the Amazon gave it more voltage than any other animal on Earth. The jaguar kills through bone pressure. The electric eel kills through physics. In the same forest, evolution built two completely different ways to end a life, and the second one is invisible. But electricity is still a solo weapon. In the next stretch of river, danger comes from dozens of small jaws acting together like one machine. The piranha is waiting, and its power is not in a single body, but in the pressure of many. The water is shrinking. Dry season pools in the Amazon are not peaceful places. They are compressing arenas. As the river withdraws, fish become trapped in shrinking basins. Oxygen drops. Hunger rises. Stress turns the water into a pressure cooker of movement and need. And in that tightening space, one fish has turned its jaw into a tool that makes the body's size almost irrelevant. The black piranha does not look like a monster. It is a hand-sized fish, dark-bodied, with a blunt face and an eye that seems to watch without expression. But the jaw is the trap. In 2012, a team of scientists measured the bite force of wild black piranhas and published the results in scientific reports. The number they recorded was 320 newtons. That is more than 30 times the fish's own body weight. To put that ratio in perspective, a great white shark's bite force relative to its body size is far less. A fish that can fit in human palms closes its mouth with a mechanical advantage that turns flesh into a simple problem of pressure and shear. The jaw muscles are disproportionately large, anchored to a skull built to transfer force without wasting it. The teeth interlock like shears. When the mouth shuts, it does not simply puncture. It slices and crushes at the same time. A single black piranha can remove a chunk of meat with one clean motion. The number is not an exaggeration. It is a measurement from a living animal, documented in a modern laboratory setting. The piranha's reputation has often been dismissed as campfire mythology, but the biomechanics tell a different story. The familiar fear of piranhas usually focuses on the school. The image is of churning water, dozens of small bodies, a feeding frenzy that strips a carcass in minutes, and that image is real enough in the right conditions. But the number changes the scene. It means that even a single fish, isolated, is already an extreme predator. The school does not create the danger. It amplifies something that already exists in the anatomy of each individual. The jaw is the weapon. The group just turns up the volume. So what does this reveal about the Amazon? The simple explanation that piranhas are aggressive little meat-eaters in schools misses the real point. The point is that evolution did not need to build a giant to produce a threat. It only needed to make the jaw efficient. The animal is small, but the force is not. In a forest where everything competes, the piranha shows that specialization can make a small body outperform a much larger one. The rule is starting to emerge. In the Amazon, size is not the advantage. Design is. But if the piranha proves that danger can come from below the surface in a flash of teeth and a cloud of blood, The next creature proves that danger can wait on the forest floor, utterly still, for hours, until the perfect moment. The South American bushmaster does not chase. It does not school. It simply disappears into the leaves and lets time do the work. The piranha attacks in a group, a machine of teeth in shrinking water, but step out of the river, onto the wet leaf litter, and the danger changes shape. Here, the weapon is not speed. It is absence. It is night on the forest floor. The air is heavy with humidity, and the ground is a carpet of rotting leaves, fallen branches, and hidden hollows. A pattern shifts in the darkness, diamonds and triangles of brown, tan, and charcoal black. The pattern does not crawl. It lies still, stretched over 2 meters, sometimes more than 3.5 meters. That is a venomous snake, longer than most people are tall, lying where a bootstep expects only leaves. The bushmaster is a pit viper, with heat-sensitive organs between each eye and nostril. It reads the forest in warm-blooded blurs, even when the eye sees nothing. Its scales are a deliberate fragmentation of light and shadow, a mosaic that breaks the outline of a giant body. When the snake holds still, it vanishes. Its eyes, with vertical pupils, catch the faintest moonlight, but give nothing back. The leaf it rests on does not tremble. A snake this large should be easy to spot, but the forest floor is a chaos of shapes, and the bushmaster's pattern is a master key to that chaos. Its very name, bushmaster, hints at its dominion over the undergrowth, a silent ruler of the night. According to the Animal Diversity Web, the bushmaster regularly reaches over 2 meters, making it one of the longest venomous snakes in the Western Hemisphere. The bushmaster is a creature of the night. During the day, it coils in hollow logs or beneath roots, a silent shape in the dark. At night, it glides over the leaf litter, its scales pushing against the damp ground without a sound. It does not chase. It follows heat signatures and waits. It will not move for hours, sometimes days, waiting for a small mammal to pass close enough. The venom is delivered through long, hinged fangs that fold against the roof of the mouth when not in use. When the strike comes, the head lunges forward faster than a blink, and the venom, a cocktail of hemotoxins, begins to dismantle tissue and disrupt clotting almost immediately. The strike is not preceded by a rattle or a hiss. It is a sudden, silent explosion of movement. The venom's hemotoxins attack blood vessels and muscle, and a bite from a large specimen can be life-threatening without prompt medical treatment. This is not a snake that flees. It trusts its invisibility. It has no need to advertise. Its existence is a quiet threat. The strategy is not to run from the human. It is to become part of the ground until the danger passes, or until the strike is the only option left. Encounters with humans are rare, but when they happen, the snake's camouflage makes it nearly impossible to see until the last moment. The simple explanation is that the bushmaster is just a large venomous snake, but that description misses the psychological weapon. Most people imagine a dangerous snake as something that rears up, hisses, threatens. The bushmaster does none of that. It simply waits, blending into the floor until the footfall is too close, and then the strike is a single, rapid movement that leaves a wound and a fading shape in the leaves. The real terror is not the size or the venom, it is the animal that refused to move. The bushmaster turns stillness into a weapon, a slower kind of fear, not impact, not electricity, but hidden time. Amazon weapons do not always rush. Some wait, but the next creature is so small it should feel harmless, until pain becomes the entire scene. The bullet ant. At the base of a tree, where the trunk meets dark, wet earth, a black ant moves across the leaf litter. It is only about 2.5 to 3 centimeters long. Smaller than a human finger, it does not rush, it does not display. And then the sting happens. The sensation does not fade. It builds. Justin Schmidt, an entomologist who turned the subjective experience of insect stings into a measurable scale, placed the bullet ant at the peak. Level 4. The highest level on the Schmidt Sting Pain Index. He described the feeling as pure, intense, brilliant pain. Like walking over flaming charcoal with a 3-inch nail driven into your heel. That description is not poetry. It is a field note from a man who allowed himself to be stung by more than 80 insect species. The Natural History Museum in London keeps that scale as a reference, and the bullet ant sits at the top. The source of that pain is a neurotoxic peptide called toxin. It targets sodium channels in nerve cells, forcing them to fire repeatedly. The signal does not stop. The body cannot shut it off. That small injection of venom creates waves of burning, throbbing, and muscle paralysis that can dominate a human limb for hours. Reports describe pain that lasts up to 24 hours. The sting does not kill, but it erases everything else. Attention collapses into a single point of suffering. Some indigenous groups in the Amazon have used this insect in initiation rituals. Young men slip their hands into gloves woven with dozens of paralyzed bullet ants, stingers facing inward. The goal is not to withstand one sting. It is to endure 10, 20, 30 stings, again and again, without crying out. The ritual turns the chemical weapon into a test of human will. It is a direct confrontation with the forest's most painful message. But the bullet ant is not just a ritual object. It is a biological argument. The simple label is a painful insect sting. That explanation collapses under the number. The pain scale, the neurotoxin, the duration, the ritual use. This is not a bee sting scaled up. It is a weapon that operates on nerves, not flesh. The ant does not need to be large because the weapon is chemical. It does not need to be fast because the pain keeps the victim frozen. The Amazon does not measure power in kilograms. It measures it in pain, and the bullet ant is the proof. One creature, a few centimeters long, can seize a human body for hours. That is not an accident of evolution. It is a design refined by millions of years in a forest where every advantage matters. The bullet ant is the final escalation in a list that began with a skull-piercing cat and moved through voltage, jaw mechanics, and hidden venom. Each animal solved survival differently, and each solution was extreme. But the bullet ant does something else. It shows that the Amazon's weapons can be invisible, neurological, and deeply personal. Now pull back. Look at the 5 creatures together. A jaguar vanishing into rosettes of shadow, an electric eel turning water into a hidden wire, a piranha whose jaw ratio rewrites the meaning of small, a bushmaster lying still on the forest floor, longer than a person, and an ant at the base of a tree, carrying a sting that can own a day. 5 animals, 5 weapons, 1 pattern. The Amazon did not create monsters by accident. It created specialists, and each one is a different answer to a single question. How do you survive in a place where everything is a test? Now step back from the ant, from the snake, from the fish, from the eel, from the cat. Look at the forest not as a set of separate horror stories, but as one connected system. The same Amazon that hides a jaguar in broken light at the river edge also fills a muddy channel with voltage, shrinks a pool until jaws collide, spreads wet leaves over a snake longer than a person, and lets a 3-centimeter insect guard the base of a tree. These 5 creatures do not live in different worlds. They share the same canopy, the same water, the same leaf litter, the same dry season pressure. And together they reveal something that a single animal cannot show. The numbers that define this system are not small. The Amazon covers roughly 6.7 million square kilometers. It holds around 10% of all known wildlife species. That is not a forest. That is a green laboratory larger than many countries, running an experiment in survival that has lasted millions of years. And the experiment keeps producing the same result in different forms: extreme specialization. A jaguar does not hunt like a lion. It turns its skull into a tool for breaking bone and piercing armor. An electric eel does not chase prey with speed. It floods the water with signals that map the darkness and then forces hidden muscles to betray their owner. A black piranha does not grow to the size of a shark. It packs a bite force more than 30 times its own body weight into a jaw that fits in a human hand, making the school a machine of small but devastating presses. A bushmaster does not announce itself with a rattle. It waits, over 2 meters of venomous stillness, until the geometry of the forest floor makes a footstep almost inevitable. A bullet ant does not kill. It injects a neurotoxin that seizes the nervous system and holds a human body in the highest level of recorded insect pain for hour after hour. None of these are random. None are the same. Stealth and skull pressure. Invisible electricity. Collective jaw force. Patience and venom. Pure neurochemical pain. 5 animals, 5 weapon systems, 5 completely different answers to the same question. How do you survive in a place where everything else is also trying to survive? One animal is a threat. 5 animals are a pattern. And the pattern is sharper than the simple explanation that the Amazon is just a dangerous place full of dangerous things. A dangerous place produces noise. This forest produces design. The jaguar's bite is not an accident of aggression. The eel's voltage is not a random spark. The piranha's jaw ratio is not a fluke of hunger. The bushmaster's camouflage is not a lucky color match. The ant's sting is not a simple defense. Each one is a solution refined under pressure, so intense and so prolonged that it turned anatomy into engineering. The Amazon did not create monsters by accident. It created specialists. And the difference matters. Fear at this moment begins to shift. The viewer who started with a skull-crushing cat and ended with a 3-centimeter pain trap now holds something more than a list of terrors. The list becomes a portrait of a biological battlefield where every creature is a working answer to a local problem. The real question stops being which animal is the most frightening. The real question is, what kind of system produces this much variety in weaponry, this much precision, this many different ways to turn a body into a threat? That system is the forest itself, the canopy that filters light into patterns, the river that hides voltage in its brown water, the shrinking pool that concentrates jaw pressure, the leaf litter that erases the outline of a giant snake, the tree base that holds a colony of tiny chemical weapons. Destroy a piece of that system, and you do not just remove a dangerous animal, you remove a living design, a set of solutions that took millions of years to assemble and that may never appear again. The pattern is clear. Now the question becomes what is lost when the laboratory is burned. The rosettes in the shade are still there. The jaguar still moves through the undergrowth near the river, its body a low shadow that disappears before the brain registers the pattern. In the brown water, an elongated shape still sends out weak electrical pulses to read the darkness, and strong pulses to turn hidden muscles into a sudden twitch. In the shrinking dry season pools, small jaws still close with a force more than 30 times the weight of the fish that carries them. On the leaf litter, a snake longer than a person still waits, its diamond-patterned back broken into pieces by the light, motionless enough to become part of the floor. And at the base of a tree, a dark ant, smaller than a finger, still guards a colony that can turn a human body into a 24-hour pain event. These 5 creatures are not separate stories. They are 5 solutions to the same problem: how to survive in a system that rewards extreme specialization. The jaguar turned its skull into a bone-breaking tool. The electric eel turned its body into a living generator and a sensory array. The black piranha packed a bite force into a jaw that makes the rest of the body look like packaging. The bushmaster traded speed for patience, camouflage, and a venom delivery that punishes a single misplaced step. The bullet ant weaponized pain itself, a neurochemical signal so strong it can dominate a large mammal's nervous system for hours. The Amazon did not create monsters by accident. It created specialists, and the laboratory that produced all of this is being cut apart. According to WWF data, the Amazon has lost roughly 17% of its forest cover in the last 50 years. Roads, farms, mines, and fires are fragmenting the system that refined these weapons over millions of years. The simple conservation message is easy to say. Protect the rainforest because it is beautiful, because it is the lungs of the planet, because it is home to indigenous peoples and irreplaceable wildlife. That message is true, but it is not strong enough to carry the weight of what is actually being lost. What disappears when a patch of forest is cleared is not just a collection of trees. It is a living library of biological designs. The jaguar's jaw is not just a predator's tool. It is a mechanical solution to armor, skulls, and shells, tested over evolutionary time. The electric eel's organs are not just a curiosity. They are a biological battery and a sensor system that engineers still struggle to replicate efficiently. The piranha's bite is not just a scary number. It is a lesson in how to concentrate force into a small, lightweight structure. The bushmaster's venom is not just a poison. It is a complex chemical cocktail that interferes with blood, tissue, and nerves in ways that medical researchers are still mapping. The bullet ant's sting is not just pain. It is a neurotoxin that opens a window into how the human nervous system processes extreme signals. When a forest is burned, That library burns with it. The pharmacy, the engineering manual, the chemical factory, the millions of years of trial and error, they all go silent. The creatures themselves are terrifying. But the greater horror is losing them before we understand what the forest built. The simple story says, protect nature because it is pretty and fragile. The stronger story says, protect it because it is a laboratory of extreme adaptations, a workshop that may hold answers to problems we have not yet learned how to solve. The jaguar, the eel, the piranha, the snake, the ant, each one is a living design that cannot be rebuilt once the original is gone. One animal is a threat. 5 animals are a pattern. And the pattern is this. The Amazon is not a chaotic green wilderness. It is a system that produces biological weapons with the same relentless pressure that a forge applies to metal. The creatures are not monsters. They are masterpieces. And the forest that shaped them is being erased faster than we can read the designs. So the final question is not about which creature you fear most. It is about how many living designs will disappear before we even learn what they were capable of. The rosettes in the shade are still there, for now. The voltage still moves through the muddy channels. The small jaws still close in the shrinking pools. The diamond-backed snake still waits in the leaves. The ant still guards the tree base. But the laboratory that built them is being dismantled piece by piece. And when a library burns, the stories it held do not come back.